Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sports Wrap Daily. I'm your host, Darrell Harris. Appreciate you joining us. Today, I'm sitting alongside Sports Director here at 8 News Now, Chris Maathuis. Chris, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday to you. Another week, another busy week. Isn't every week an exciting week here in Las Vegas? It seems like there's so much to talk about that you don't even have time for.
Yes, no, that is legitimately what happens. So let's not waste any today, and let's go ahead and bring in our special guest to talk Raiders from Silver and Black Sports Network. He's the guy over there, Jesse Merrick. Welcome, Jesse. Welcome back, let's say, off the top as well. Last time we talked, I think it was week 4 or 5 or something of the regular season.
Yeah. We were saying like that's right before things really went real south for the Raiders, and we were like, okay, this is what it's going to look like. So now we at least have some positive things to talk about in terms of the future of the Raiders, which is really exciting.
Certainly. And let's jump right in with it's an offseason right now. We've got a coaching staff. Jesse, I'm curious your opinion on what we have so far. It's not totally filled. There's still some spots to fill.
Yeah.
But we've got a good, we know some of the offensive, we know the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, special teams, Mike McCoy as the assistant coach. So give us your opinion on who we have in the building so far for the Raiders.
Yeah, look, I've been impressed with the way he's been able to build it. There was a narrative out there that he was going to have a tough time selling this coaching staff and selling Vegas, I guess, to these coaching candidates. And that hasn't been the case. And so I think from a perspective of, one, they got younger, and two, they have a nice mix of that youth and veteran presence as well. I think Rob Leonard was due to be a defensive coordinator. He was about to get those opportunities around the league, a really respected coach. You look offensively, too, even with bringing in Geno, he's not going to be calling plays. Obviously, Klint Kubiak's going to be doing that. But Genoko's another guy that's worked really well with the quarterbacks over the years that Kubiak has had a chance to work with because he's kind of followed him at each and every spot. And with the assistants, too, I think it's a very interesting mix of guys that if you read the tea leaves, you can kind of see what they want to do on defense. Defensively, they go get a couple guys that have ties to Rob Leonard, specifically his time in Baltimore. So I think that can tell you a bit of like maybe they want to install more of that Mike Macdonald type of defense like we've seen up in Seattle, because that was when Mike Macdonald was installing that defense in Baltimore when they all worked there. Offensively, obviously, we know what they're going to run. It's going to be that Shanahan scheme. But one of the really shrewd hires, I think, was their running backs coach. He comes over from Iowa, and a lot of people are thinking, well, why'd they dip into the college ranks? I like that one because Iowa rushed for over 2,300 yards that last season there in college, and they averaged 4.6 yards per carry. Also ran a very heavy zone scheme, which we're going to see from the Raiders this season. That translates really well to help Genty get caught up to speed on what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, and if there's a college program to pluck a running game coordinator or personnel from, that Iowa offense we know is in the trenches and is all about, grinding out victories and not necessarily shootout wins. So That's good. Chris, and I know that you feel the same way sort of about Mike McCoy specifically.
Yeah, I agree totally with what Jesse was saying here. When you got this youth, this mix of youth with the older guys and kind of brings some stability, obviously the experience that McCoy has being a head coach twice at 2 different programs, Chargers, Titans, and just the long NFL experience that he has. But then, like Jesse was saying, you have these younger guys that these older guys can kind of mentor and kind of be the sounding board, perhaps, of hey, we ought to try this, we ought to try that. And we mentioned that Kubiak will be calling the plays, but he almost seemed like a guy that's going to talk to this guy and that guy, and hey, what should we do best? Don't you get that impression, Jesse? That
collaborative.
Hey, I'm going to call this, but do you think we should do that? What do you think? What do you think? Okay, I'm going to do this because I think we all agree on this. It's like he's, that mentorship, the delegation is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
He's a guy, but he'll delegate to you and me and this guy over there to make sure we're making the right call at the right time and doing the right thing against this opponent.
Page.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Another thing that's cool, I think, about all these coaches is all the kind of interconnections. He worked with him there. He worked with him over here. He worked with them. I mean, even like you were mentioned, Omar Young worked with Janako at another place. So it's like they all have this kind of tie-in, which is what you would want as a head coach. If I'm a head coach and you coached at such and such, and Jesse, you coached at such and such, maybe it wasn't even the NFL the last few years, but I worked with you in the past. I'm comfortable with you. I know you. I know how we're going to respond, how we're going to act in certain situations. I want you to be part of this rebuild. And Jess and I were talking about this, and I think this is really important. If I'm building a company, let's say I'm going to build a company, whether it's football or a business, I'm Bill Foley, This is one thing that Bill Foley always told me when I first got to know him. I put myself around people that are better than I am in certain areas. So they all have the wisdom, but this guy might be a little bit better at that. This guy might be a little bit better at that, maybe at finances or marketing or whatever. But you get guys who are a little bit better than you in certain situations, and it all comes together as one big, strong staff, which I think that's what he's building here.
No, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they operate. You can juxtapose that to last year's group where you're bringing in Chip Kelly, you're bringing in Pete Carroll. There's probably no overlap, and we're just going to trust that it's going to work, and it didn't quite work. And speaking of last season, it's not brand new news today, but the team is expected to move on from Geno Smith before the new season is on calendar and his money is owed. So, Jesse, do you think that there are any takeaways from last year that sort of can be applied to this season outside of, maybe Genty, any things that can be pulled from last season going forward, or is it just a new page?
Yeah, well, look, I think it only goes up from here. I think that's one big thing you can take away from last season. But look, seriously, though, when you look at Ashton Genty and what he did behind that offensive line, I mean, it was horrible. He averaged 0.6 yards per carry before contact. So he was getting hit just over half a yard after he touched the ball. I mean, that's insane. So for me, it's like, look what that guy did when he did have time. When you look around, a couple of the games here, Chicago comes to mind, the game against the Texans, when he had a little bit of room, he was electric. So in this new scheme that they're going to be running here with Kubiak coming into the fold, that wide zone attack gives a running back with patience, time to see the field, and a little more room to run and lets things develop and lets him use his vision. And so that's where I think Genty is going to be able to build off of the season that he had last year. Is like, one, just being in a better situation coaching-wise, scheme-wise, all of that. But two, having more room to work with. Obviously, for Brock Bowers, you want and need him to get healthy. And then we can't forget about Genty as a receiver as well. This is a similar scheme, obviously, like we see in San Francisco. It's not going to be exactly copy and paste. But look at Christian McCaffrey. And I'm not saying that Ashton Genty is Christian McCaffrey, but the way they use Christian McCaffrey as a receiver, Genty has some of that in him. We can't forget that he led all of college football in receiving yards by a running back his junior year when he was there at Boise State. This is a guy that flashed the hands a little bit last season. I think we will see more of that this season as Kubiak really starts to kind of build this offense, one around Brock Bowers and two around Genty running the ball. Using those two off of each other, it's going to be really fun to see kind of how that's done.
Doesn't it seem like with Kubiak also, let me ask you guys this, it seems like in his scheme, his offense, they'll emphasize efficiency, motion, but kind of almost like efficiency, quarterback development. It just seems like it's going to be a totally, wow, look at what Mendoza's doing. Now, who knows if he can do it, but it's almost like you can almost sense, wow, okay, now I see what this Kubiak can do with a quarterback. It just almost seems like, how many times last year were we up there watching the game, throw it, and it was too late.
Yeah.
Did you do that a lot, Jesse?
That's the thing, is that's Mendoza's game. Like, he's that super compressor, the super compressor computer guy, sitting back there reading and delivering where the ball needs to go, and that's where this offense works. Look at Sam Darnold and his efficiency, to your note on that. Like, this is a guy that would figure out where the ball needs to go based off of all those pre-snap motions. They motion on 60% of their plays. Like, that's a ton of motion. It's going to be top 5 in the league in terms of motion. So he's going to have a lot of those pre-snap identifiers to figure out the coverage. And that is, again, where you play off of Fernando Mendoza's strengths there.
And that's how they scored their touchdown, was off that motion. Remember the tight end, back and forth, like what we saw the clips a million times.
Yeah.
We're going to do this, we're going to do this. So you think you're going to do that, do something else off the motion, boom, they score the touchdown.
Yeah, and we saw some of that processing and decision-making from Fernando, all season long. He was not a turnover machine, and that team never lost a game. He was out of the fourth quarter in half of their regular season games as well. They pretty much breezed through the playoff until they met Miami, which has a pair of first-round D linemen. So I think that was really good. I was watching that game saying, he's getting tested. And every time he did, that brother responded. He got up and he gave a little bit back to him. So I'm also curious, Jesse, some of your just read on Mendoza. What do you think some of his strengths are? What do you think his capabilities are as a runner? And what that might look like in year one. Big learning curve, of course.
Definitely. And look, there's always going to be a jump from, college football to the NFL. But, look at his arc, too. I mean, not that he played bad during the year, because obviously he won the Heisman, so he played very well. But his game continued to go up. And in those, pressure cooker moments, it was on the road at Penn State. They go and beat Ohio State as well. Or I think they came back to beat Ohio State, if memory serves me right. At Oregon, goal line fade ball, boom, for the touchdown there. Those pressure-packed moments during the season, he comes through. Then in the playoff, where you're getting as close to NFL-style competition as you can get, that's where he really shined. And he even showed, to your note about like the athleticism, he showed off the athleticism. Like that was one thing people had said was a knock that he really needed to display. They didn't quite have that in his game. Well, I think he put it on display. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head about his rushing yardage and stuff, but how many times did we see him tuck and run in the right moments? Obviously that one against Miami, going to go down in history. You can frame that, put it in the Louvre, you know, I mean, it was an unreal play. And so that's a guy that showed that he's got serviceable or above average athleticism that you can use at times, in the league as well. So pair that with, again, the way that kid can process and his accuracy. He didn't have a turnover in the red zone this year. I mean, think about the Raiders and all the struggles they've had. One, just in terms of the quarterback turning it over since Derek Carr left.
For years, yeah.
For so many years. And then two, just in the red zone. Like fans have complained for so many years about they get into the red zone and they settle for field goals. Well, Mendoza goes in there, doesn't turn it over, and converts and scores touchdowns off of that. Again, have to do it in the NFL. It's different when you got these NFL defenses that are built to disguise and confuse you, and they do it to some of the best in the league. There's plenty of times. I mean, how many times have we seen the Raiders play the Chiefs well and make Patrick Mahomes look like he doesn't know what's going on out there in the couple of games that they've played, defensively. So it's one of those things where he's got to show it at this level, but the kid has the right stuff and a very high floor, and I think that's all the Raiders can ask for right now is to be able to get a guy that can just even come in and maybe even be league average. That's a massive win for him.
No, I'm glad you highlighted some of those points because, yes, his intangibles more than anything are what are maybe his strongest asset. And keep in mind when we're thinking of this last college football season, this is the first year, second year where players are really incentivized to return to college. So we're seeing older, more experienced, more league-ready players. Not saying that that's the NFL, but it's not the college game where people are looking to leave right away. He faced a seasoned group of college football players and was elite. So I think that just about does it for us today on the Raiders. But Jesse, man, we appreciate you. Let us know where you got working on, where our folks can find you, and thanks for coming up here again.
Yeah, of course. You can hit us up on silverandblacksportsnetwork.com. Also find us on YouTube, the same name. Today we actually did just drop a deep dive on the Raiders coaching staff. We really extended the look at like Rick Dennison, the new offensive line coach. Like I said, the running back coach as well. Just kind of went, higher by higher through all of the decisions that Klint Kubiak made and explained why they make sense and what it means for the Raiders moving forward. So you definitely want to check that out.
Who's your favorite to hire, Jesse?
I think the favorite one is Omar Young, to be completely honest. Like I said, just the tie-in of Iowa and what they were able to do. I really like that one. Also to Azani, the receiver coach that they brought in from Pittsburgh. I really like him just because look at Pittsburgh and what they've done over the years with receivers. That organization knows receivers. He was only there 2 years, but anybody you can pluck from that tree is massive. So I think he's going to be another sneaky hire.
Nice.